Are you ready for deeper meaning and bigger dreams in your life? Do you believe it can happen? Amy and Lorianne are here to clear the confusion and help you live life full out, guided by your inner wisdom to create, amplify, and align you with your highest self. Are you ready to attract a divinely blessed life? This is Living in the Faith Frequency.
Welcome to this week's podcast and this episode with Amy and Lorianne. And today, Amy and I have been able to share some things before we got on the call. And it's an impactful message that I think everybody needs to hear. And we got to start out with the fun part, because you have been cleaning out closets and cupboards, and anytime we start cleaning out our closets and our cupboards, there is magic that starts happening in your life. And because you're making space for something new and something great and something grand to start happening. I don't know if people really value cleaning out your closet as much as it will do in your life. Like, you have no idea. Once you just get rid of a whole bunch of stuff, it starts opening up in all areas. So I know you had a friend come over and help you clean out your closet. Will you just tell us all about that?
I will, and I'm going to be very honest that cleaning out closets, I do not like to do alone. I do not make decisions on little stuff. I can make big life decisions and follow divine guidance in powerful ways, but the little stuff drags me down. So I am just very aware that I don't know, my friend says, you're a hoarder, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not a hoarder, but I do have a lot of stuff. My dad always bought boots and hats and shirts in multiples and multiple colors. And when I went through my closet, I do the same thing with, we kind of just learn from our parents. So my parents really never got rid of much. They just built more storage units on their ranch to hold their stuff. And so
Wow.
I have prided myself, like, I know how to let go, but I know how to ask for help to help me let go.
That is a magical thing right there. We could
Learning to ask for help. I
Yeah,
just know it's not one of my specialties. So I had a friend come, and I couldn't even like move in my closet. I didn't have any hangers. So, they just held one thing at a time. Yes or no, yes or no. And just that extra support and keeping me focused. And then I would go back and I let go of 3 huge trash bags of clothes. Plus I have different sizes, and I just was ready to free myself of all that. And it felt so good that the next day I had a different friend come over, and I had been talking about my bathroom closet, and it's got really deep shelves and things were like falling out, and all kinds of sample products and half empty cans. And anyway, she was really good at, have you used it? If it's almost empty, let it go. I let go of 2 huge trash cans in my bathroom closet.
Wow.
So I've let go of a lot of things this weekend, and I can't tell you how freeing it is in my mind, and it does open space for more things. And so whether you can do it by yourself or you need to ask a friend, it's so important to clear out things. And we were talking earlier about even like the healing process. So I had a bilateral hernia surgery, and I've really had to slow down, and I haven't been able to do near as much stuff, and it was more extensive than I thought. And so we were talking about the healing process, and I was telling Lorianne that there's so much healing that's happening in my life beyond this surgery. And interesting enough, it's in the pelvic area. It's an inguinal hernia. And so the surgery, there was lots of swelling and bruising and that kind of stuff. But it's also led me to think about my past. And if anyone's read my Blameless book, I have shared, not in detail, but things that have happened to me in my past that where I was taken advantage of. And And it's something in my life that I just thought, well, it'll just probably always be there. I didn't really know how you would heal that part of you and feel the freedom and remove the shame and the guilt of thinking you should have done something differently, or you should have spoke up, or you should have, the should have's,
Mhm.
wished you would have things.
Yeah.
But what's amazing in my life right now is there's so much healing that's taking place, even in that area where I I am feeling a freedom that I've never felt before. And I don't know if it's everything that I've gone through and just opening my heart again. Like, I am a very trusting person, and just opening my heart to heal has been leading me down healing other things that I didn't even know I could heal.
Right. So when you talked about it in your Blameless book, you talked about how letting go of that blame and that shame, just it opens up um, just amazing possibilities and places in your heart that you didn't even know existed to be able to be open. And so I love how you've cleaned out your closet. You're going through all this healing. And like you said, it's all in the pelvic area. And it's not by coincidence that now you're feeling this healing through all the trauma that happened to you uh, in your childhood, and through all of the sexual abuse, the sexual trauma. Like, there's so many women out there that have had all of these things happen. And like you have just said, I've healed from that. I've done the work, you know, it's done. And, but it creeps up. There are things that happen in your life and it just creeps up. But like I love how you defined it by saying it's the blame and the shame that we take on, and there's ways to heal that.
Yeah. And I have found myself talking with a friend, even in this past week, um, sharing the things that had happened to me in a little bit more detail.
Wow.
And for the first time, I didn't feel an emotional charge around it. I looked at it from a different perspective, but I didn't feel the guilt. I didn't feel the shame. And when we can get to that place, when we've had sexual traumas, there is a freedom that we feel in our body that allows us to receive joy and pleasure and love on a whole deeper level.
Yeah.
And I think you have to have a very safe place to be able to do that. But whenever you can talk about it and look at it and not feel guilty about it or shameful about it, but have compassion with yourself, like, oh, that happened. But whoever was doing it, they had things that were going on in their life too. So you end up having compassion for yourself, but you don't have blame for the other person, because there's so much to life that we continue to learn. There's no ending to the learning that we experience. And then there's also curiosity. I think at a young age, there's a lot of curiosity. And when we can just look at things from a whole different perspective. I know the stories that I attached to my experiences were extremely shameful. And when I call it softening, when I soften those stories and I look at it from a different perspective, you don't look at it as, it's not as painful as it once was when that story is softened. And you look at life, that's the one thing that creates more life. The sexuality, we never talked about that growing up. So I didn't have any guidance in what a relationship should look like or be like. And things happened, and it was in Secrecy. I had no one to talk to. I had no one to ask questions. And I just think, it's important to be able to have an open space for our kids to be able to talk about sexuality, relationships, what you're going to feel, how to speak up if something feels off, how to, you know, do things safely. And sometimes there's religious upbringings and, you choose to hold out and everybody has all these different beliefs that we have to work within. We have to work within our own belief systems to honor and be in integrity with ourself and our authenticity. So I just think as we communicate this, it's not been something I ever felt comfortable talking about until now. And now I'm like, it's a natural part of life. And if I look at it from a different perspective, there's not the shame and guilt and the blame that I once felt. And maybe it was because I wrote the book and I had to look at it a little bit more. And then I've talked about it more with more people because I think it's a very common thing for
Yeah.
women. And I think it's important that we can talk about it and have a safe place to process things.
And speak about it in a way that you're not reliving it, like
Yes.
with the attached stories.
Yes.
So I that is key in what you said there, because there's the people who talk about it and relive it and
Yes.
go down that rabbit hole of spiraling and do the poor me. Not that it doesn't happen. I mean, it's a strong emotion.
Oh,
It's a
yeah.
strong emotion, and it can take you spiraling and get you down in a hole. But
Yeah.
when you speak about it with compassion and love and seeing the bigger picture, and that's incredible.
Yes, and that it did take me down deep holes for a long time, which affected my relationships. And then I have
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of relationships that they don't have the passion, they don't have that enjoyment and the pleasure. And I think that's a really important part of life. And how do you keep that alive? But you have to heal yourself from those past things. And it's something that I just at one point in my life thought I probably just won't ever heal. I probably won't feel
Mhm.
complete freedom and joy the way that I would like to, but I was open to it. I wasn't something like I'm trying to heal this thing. I think when
Right.
we come from that standpoint, we just kind of keep it activated. It was more
Yeah.
of just like a letting go, kind of like a clearing out the space, like we talked about, the
Uh,
closets. And I just, it wasn't something I was intentionally doing, but in the cleaning out, um, conversations occurred, and all of a sudden I had a whole different perspective on it with no shame, no guilt, no blame, and it's amazingly freeing to be in
you
that space.
created the space for it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So
Amy,
I
that's so vulnerable, so tender, and so something that every single one of us can do. Even just talking with you about this, it even, helps me even with I barely had just a little bit of sexual abuse as a child, not anything like the trauma that you went through. But even there, it's like going through all of this with you and reading your book, and I've been able to even heal those layers in me with that compassion and creating that space for it. It wasn't work. It just happened. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think healing doesn't have to be a lot of work. I think it's just a lot
Yeah.
of love and compassion and grace with self and even with others, because you don't know what they were going through. I know the person in my younger years. What I know is that he had an abusive stepfather who was an alcoholic.
Mm.
You know, so hurt people hurt people, and even in that understanding. And I think the more that you like who you are, you manage your thoughts, you manage your emotions, you are kind and respectful. Um, but you can also have a wild side and adventure and free spirit. Like I'm about, you get to choose. Like we have complete free will. You can have a sweet side, you can have a wild side, you can have all of it. It doesn't define you. And I think it's about living in the moment and finding your people that you can be yourself with, and you can be authentic, and you can feel safe and explore um, your life and your dreams and all the things, because we're here to live life full out. And that's
Yeah.
that's the one thing that's really present after going through what I did with John, and thinking we would be together forever. It's like you don't know how much time is promised. And so I really like to live life full out and feel all the emotions and process and share and connect, um, dream, travel, just experience life. So I love that you and I can talk about these things. You draw these out of me, Lorianne. So I'm happy to share. It's not that I talk about these things, and I've definitely never shared this before. So I appreciate you creating that safe place, and we're doing it with the intention to help others. So I hope that it's helpful for others as well.
That's the thing. When we start sharing and get really vulnerable, I know there is somebody listening that needed to hear this today, because we all have these things. And if it's just one little thing that you hear that somebody else has done, and it's like, I can do that. I can do that, you know, and opening up that compassion and love, and just clean your closet out, clean your drawer out today. You never know what's
Who
going to
knew?
happen, right?
Who knew what would open up?
That's right.
Yeah.
So our message today really is be loving and compassionate to you and to those around you, because we just don't know what, tomorrow will bring. And it's so much better to live in that freedom of happiness and joy and love and compassion and being courageous and brave. So thank you.
Yes. Well, thank you for always being that safe place, and I know you've gone through your things as well, and I love that we were able to share this faith frequency message with others that are wanting to clear out and to allow in the love and the healing and the wholeness and the adventure and the fun and the abundance that is their birthright. So if you haven't subscribed, click the button to get notified each new episode that comes out. And we've got some good things in the works that we'll be sharing. So stay tuned.
Thanks. See ya.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Living in the Faith Frequency. Keep shining, keep aligning, and keep trusting your inner guidance as you live your life full out. We are here to guide you as you step confidently into your faith journey. Be sure to subscribe and stay connected. Check out the show notes and let us know what topics would you like to hear next. On behalf of Amy and Lorianne, we want you to keep talking, keep dreaming, and keep feeling blessed.